Joining me today, we have Jake Kwiatkowski, game expert at the game agency, and he is going to show you how to build a trivia game. So without further ado, Jake, take it away.
Thank you, Stephanie, as always. Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. It's Tuesday. The days are blending into each other for sure. I am pleased to be back here again with another game building webinar. I'm going to give it a couple of more minutes for some folks to roll in since it's just 1:01. We know no one likes to show up exactly on time to a meeting, right? So while we are waiting, like Stephanie said, pop in the chat. Tell us where you are calling from today, how you're doing. How did your football team do over the weekend? My Bills crushed it, so I'm having a good start to my week. And it's a sunny, lovely day here in Rochester, New York, believe it or not. All right, I'm going to share my screen real quick. Great. All righty. We've got someone from Alberta, Canada. I love it. Hello, hello. All right, so as folks are trickling in, we'll get started here. So as Stephanie said, we are here today to build a trivia game. Now, trivia is perhaps one of the easier routes into gamifying your learning or using gamification. So many people know what trivia is. Maybe you play trivia at your local bar or pub like I used to, or like Stephanie does on a weekly basis still. People love trivia and it's accessible and it's a really great tool for multiple different purposes in training, in team building, and in fun. So let's get trivial. All right, so as I had said, trivia is great for improving cognitive development, for recalling exercises, for community building, like these folks here, if you're playing in a team, and something that we'll touch on in a little bit, you can improve concepts and actually teach new information to learners by offering different paths down trivia questions. And again, we'll get to a couple live answers like that in a moment. But trivia is just great. Again, there aren't really that many rules to learn. There aren't really any mechanics to know. You hear a question, you answer the question, you get it right or wrong, voila. And using the training arcade, you and your learners receive instant feedback if they got it right or wrong. You as a trainer can collect tons of actionable data regarding the games that your learners are playing, and all quickly and easily through training arcade. So another great thing about our trivia game is the different question types. Some of you might be aware that we also have a license for Jeopardy, which is another one of our most popular games. However, being Jeopardy, we are a little boxed in by the IP, which is great because we want it to look and smell and feel and taste just like Jeopardy. But with trivia, we get some more leeway to play with the questions. So in trivia, we have multiple choice, multi-select, text input, image matching, like this question here, and polls even. So you can conduct quick live polls during your trivia games. Having these different question types and different methods, it just gives you more tools in your arsenal as a trainer, gives more means to engage learners through different learning styles, et cetera, et cetera. Another great thing about trivia over Jeopardy is that there are a few more gamification elements in here. So if you'll notice on this screen, we have streaks. See, like here, I got 3 in a row. So that's great because the more questions you answer in a row, the higher your score multiplier is and the more points you get. So that's just another great gamification element. I personally, yesterday, just lost a 27-day Wordle streak, and I was very upset about it. And so I went back with a vengeance today to start my streak again. So these gamification elements that are captured in all of our games really just help bring your learners into the action, get them engaged, and get them wanting to re-engage with those training materials. And here's some of those analytics that I was talking about. So you, in first, all of our games, and we'll show this a live version a little later, all of our games, you can have the information in aggregate, by question, and by player. Their total sessions, completed sessions, how much they spent on them, et cetera, et cetera. And then the first through third session, you can normally see a lift in that knowledge. Here's some great examples down here. because as you re-engage with these materials, go figure, you're memorizing them. You are recalling them faster and quicker. And so as you are re-engaging with these games and this material, you're getting better at the material all at the same time. Okay, so one thing I like to talk about is writing good trivia, because there is good trivia and there is okay trivia and there's bad trivia. So I'm going to start up here. What's the capital of France? That is a perfectly acceptable, mundane, not great trivia question. And the reason is you either know that question or you don't. Now, this can be a useful tool if you are doing like pure recall, right? If you genuinely just want to test, do you know this fact? Then a question like this is going to work just fine. What's the capital of France? I either know it's Paris or I don't. That's it. This is not giving me like any other hints to the answer. What if it was written like this? Also known as the City of Lights, what is the capital and largest city in France? So this gives me three different ways, in some sense, to answer this question. I could know that Paris is called the City of Lights, that Paris is the largest city in France, or I just know that it is the capital of France. So by knowing one of these, I can get to the answer. And in the process, I've learned two other facts. Great, I knew Paris is the capital. I also just learned it's the largest city. And I learned it's called the City of Lights, or some combination thereof. Voila, pun intended. You just turned this perfectly acceptable, boring question into something that taught your learners and gave them more means to answer the question. Here's another quick example. And this will make sense in a second. I'm going to use a game I wrote on New Orleans trivia as an example. What's the name of the New Orleans airport? Again, you know it or you don't. New Orleans Airport is named for what famous trumpet player, nicknamed Satchmo, who was born in the Big Easy in 1901? You could just know the NOLA airport name. You could know who Satchmo is. And you could just maybe know that, ding, ding, Louis Armstrong was born in New Orleans. So again, this works just fine for pure recall. There's nothing wrong with it. But by putting a little extra thought into writing a trivia question, you can further engage your learners, give them a sense of like, wait, I know this one. Because when something is presented, what's the name of, who is, it seems definitive. You know it or you don't. And immediately people will go, I don't know that one. And they'll give up. But if you were to question like this, they might think, oh, Satchmo, I've heard that before. And even if they still don't know the answer, they're thinking. They're trying to go through their mind and engage and recall this information. And then when you tell them it's Louis Armstrong, they go, oh, darn, I knew that one. And that is so much better than, well, I didn't know that. It seems subtle, but putting just a little thought and a few more paths into these questions can really, really improve a trivia game. All right, so back to some other great gamification aspects of trivia. Microlearning. Trivia games like ours can be as short as 2 questions. It's a little short. Maybe you want a little part more than that. But our training games are really great means of bite-sized micro-learning for your learners. Our attention spans are dwindling. People want to learn something quick and easy or engage with something quick and easy and move on to the next thing. And games and trivia are a great way to accomplish this. Same with repeat play, like I had mentioned earlier. So we found that there was a 57% knowledge lift if you played 3 or more times, or excuse me, 57% of learners played our games 3 or more times, and there was a 58% improvement in knowledge between the first and the third play. Go figure, you're re-engaging with that material. You've heard these answers before. You can recall them faster, and they get dug into your brain. So with all that said, let's build a game. All right. So first of all, let's go to the training arcade. So if you are familiar, this is the back end of the training arcade. And I'm going to build a new game. I'm going to go with trivia. All right. So this page here is pretty much the same for all 10 different games in the training arcade. Excuse me. So this will look familiar to you if you're familiar with the training arcade. So first of all, the game mode is the first thing we need to check. So single player is available in all 10 of our games, and instructor-led or initiated mode is available only in Jeopardy and Trivia at the moment. That means that I, as an instructor, would guide us through the game, read the questions, provide the answers, provide some feedback, et cetera, et cetera. And if you're looking to find a example of one of these instructor-led games, we play a live Jeopardy game every Friday at 1 o'clock, and you are more than welcome. It's actual Jeopardy clues, and it's a great time. You can see this in action. But today we're going to build a single-player game. And then you need to name your game. So notice if I put in a name here, once I click away from the box, the URL auto-populates. Lovely. If I want to, I can, of course, modify that URL if I wish. This is the easiest way to share out a game to your learner, and we'll get to more on that in a moment. Default language. Right now we have 20 different languages supported in the Training Arcade. That is really exciting. Note, this does not translate the content of your game. There is a method for that, which we have other videos on, but what this does is it translates the UI or the direction. So right here, you see select the correct answer from the choice below. That would be translated into whichever language you pick. You can add tags to organize and categorize your games for faster searching if you want. And then down here, the game settings, this is the box that's going to be different mostly between all of our games because of different game mechanics. So first of all, set a default timer for all questions. I usually do this, and I usually, for a Jeopardy or a trivia game, recommend 20 to 30 seconds. That's just long enough to give you time to think, but not long enough to slow down the pace of the game. But if you want to make it, more accessible, or you don't want your learners to rush through, you want them just really to think about it, you don't have to have a timer on. Percent of questions answered required to pass. Since we're building a game for fun today, I'm going to put 0 because I'm not really testing on anything. But if you are training folks on pharmaceuticals, you probably want that to be higher than 0. So you can just type in whatever number you want them to score before they can pass the quiz. Great. And keep it at 0. Session limits. So this is a really fun thing. So if you want to make this a true knowledge check, like, hey, you get 1 chance to answer this quiz and that's your score, you can do so. And you can pick a day, and you can pick it down to the 5 minutes how long you want this to be available. So you can get really specific with it. Or you could also use this as kind of a sales contest, or maybe just a contest. Hey, this game is open for X amount of days of time. Whoever scores the most points in that time wins some sort of prize, right? Or you don't have to have those at all. Randomized questions. So we create individual questions in the trivia game. We'll get there in a moment. And if you have randomized questions on, it simply randomizes the order they show up to the learner. I usually have this turned off because I want them presented to the learner in the way that I am putting them into the game. That's entirely up to you to figure out. Show a tutorial before the game. I'm going to click no because I'm going to guide you through this, but that's really easy to just turn on for your learners if you want to. And then at the end of the game, they're presented with a menu. And if you want to populate that with some URLs, like, find more information on, well, I had this loaded up here, this Jeopardy game, click that button there. Another opportunity for you to engage your learners. Information pop-ups. So this shows up before the game to tell your learners, why are you here? What are you hoping to accomplish? This just gives some context to the game. You don't have to have this as well. It's optional, but it is a nice way to just kind of tell your learners, what are you doing here, right? All right, we're almost done with this stuff. Now at the bottom here, user registration. So if you want to upload an authorized player list, only certain people can play. That's a simple Excel file. You can do that. You can also integrate your single sign-on, your SSO provider for added security if you want, or you don't need any authorization at all. Registration. So if I click on registration, yes, these are the main registration fields that people use. First name, last name, email, phone number, blah, blah, blah. You can make them optional, required, disabled. You can add custom fields in if you want. That can be text input or drop down, or you don't have to have any registration on. Last thing, show leaderboard on game over screen. So I always recommend you have this on unless you are actually using this for a knowledge check or testing purposes, and you don't want Stephanie to know what I scored or me to know what Stephanie scored. To keep those secret, you just turn it off. If you're not using that, I always recommend you have this on because that's a gamification element we want to capture. Like, dang it, I won't stand for Stephanie to get a higher score than me. I'm going to play that game again. It gets your folks back into the game. If you have the leaderboard turned on and registration turned off, the only thing it will ask your learners for are name or initials. You know, those 3 letters you had as a kid to immortalize yourself in the arcade. That's what we're looking for. All right. Now, the theme. So some of our games have extra skins and themes that you can have. I'm going to leave this as aqua. Audio track, I'm going to leave no track right now, but you can have just some fun music in the background to engage your learners if you want. Branding, you can upload a company logo if you want, or you can put text, Jake's LLC. Look at that, great. Same with the title. I could upload an image, or you could put in some text. Same with background. I could upload a background image here. Company logo would go down here if I wanted it. Just some more ways to make the game kind of your own. Awesome. So now that we have all of this basic information set up, I got to go in the top right here and click save. Voila. The game was added successfully. We are ready to rock. So then you'll notice that this questions screen popped up over here. So now I can start adding questions. Great. So one good thing about this webinar is this add questions function is the same for a lot of our games. So actually building a trivia game is pretty much the same as building a jump game, a match game, etc. So look at that. Add a question. Here's my question. But what kind of content are we going to put in here? Where's the content coming from? Here is my content for the game. So for games, I always like to write down the content outside of the training arcade. And I usually use docs because they're just easy to collaborate on, share to users, but whatever means, whatever program you use for writing things down, I highly recommend. And if you all want this template, I am more than happy to share it with you after the webinar. And so here's my question. Here's my correct answer. Here are my 3 misclues, the wrong answers that I'm going to put down. And then here is some feedback. Awesome. So if I go back to the game, great. So first one's going to be a multiple choice. Now, I do actually want to upload an image to this. So let's see here. Let's grab the question first. So this is just simply me copying and pasting. Look at that. No, we are not going to use a timer for this question. Randomized answers, I'm going to click that off. So that just means that the answers we put here, and note, I can have up to 5 multiple choice answers. If I have this clicked as randomized, they'll just show up in a different jumbled order. Now, if you're doing a single player game, that doesn't really matter. But if you are running this in an instructor-led mode where we are all playing the game together, also highly recommend you have this turned off so that everybody is seeing the answers in the right order. Otherwise, it's just a little jarring. All right, so here are my clues, or my answers rather. And I'm just going to copy and paste like this. Again, this is all up to you, whichever you find easiest. Then you have to pick the correct answer. And then since I don't have them randomized, I can simply move them around in order if I want to. Great. And then here is my feedback. So feedback is another optional yet highly recommended function that you have in the training arcade to further engage learners. So when the question's over, depending on if they got it correct or incorrect, you can provide different text or different images. For a fun game like this, again, I like to just throw in the same fun fact because we're having a good time. But you could also take that opportunity to say, hey, in fact, it wasn't the Italians, and maybe here's why. Or great job, it was the French. Here's another fun fact. Up to you. And then the last thing I'm going to do is upload an image. So also optional, but in our trivia game, I do also recommend images as they just kind of spice it up. You'll see what I mean in a moment. So if I go to images, so you can see this is just a file explorer. Here are a bunch of images that I picked for this game. Voila. Rue de Orleans. I don't speak French, I speak German. Don't hold it against me. So there we go. So we have now our image. I have the question. I have my answers, feedback, correct one chosen. Excellent. So now, if I click save, spinning, game updated successfully, this game's ready to rock. I can have a one-question trivia game if I so choose. Where this might work is actually if you did a polling question, right? You just wanted to use this trivia game as a means for polling instead of like Google Forms or something like that. You could just have one question. That's totally fine. But we want more than that. So we're going to add another one in here. Let's do a text input. I think that's what we've got here. Yes. All right, I got another clue here. So I'm going to copy, paste in my question text. Now, for a text input, you don't have multiple choice options. So this gets a little trickier, but at the same time, you get a lot of leeway. So the first thing you have to put in is the exact answer. What is the exact thing that I am looking for? And it is the Louisiana Purchase, spelled that way. But what if someone wrote down Louisiana Purchase? What is the Louisiana Purchase? That thing called the Louisiana Purchase. Those are all still technically correct answers, right? But they don't match this exact text. So to account for that, this function I use the most, which is contains, and I would, for this answer, put Louisiana, whoops, I can spell, I swear, Louisiana Purchase. Note, answers are not case sensitive. So if I put in what is the Louisiana Purchase, I would still get that answer correct. If you want to be really, really merciful, which I usually am not, people will tell you, if you wanted to put in a option of starts with LOU, that would also be then considered a correct answer. But what if they just put Lewis? That's technically correct according to this, but it doesn't really give you the answer. So I usually find you can use these two functions and you'll capture everything, but it's entirely up to you. Here is my feedback. I'm going to copy and paste that in. Find my image that I want to use. I think it's this one. Look at that frontier. It's beautiful. Then I hit save. You don't have to hit save after you create every question. However, I'm of the age before autosave, so I always do that. And then again, boom, I have two questions in this game. It's ready to rock if I want to do it. But I'm going to do one more type for you, and that is going to be a multi-select. So I've got my question again. Here are my possible answers. I'm going to add in, whoops, let's pick a multiple select, right? Great. I've got 5 choices here. Is anyone getting hungry? I'm getting hungry thinking of this. I miss NOLA. I love that city. All right, so I'm asking a question about the famous Café du Mont that is famous for their café au lait and beignets. So it is basically a multiple choice question, but with multiple answers, right? Piece of cake. We do another image. Where'd my beignets go? Yeah, look at that. There they are. And then I can put in my feedback. Voila. Click save. And if for whatever reason I am missing something, like, so let's say I did not pick a correct answer, boom. It will tell you, hey, you forgot to do something, right? You forgot to put in the right answer. You forgot to put in something here or other. So it will tell you if something's missing. Otherwise, it'll just spin through and hit save and you're ready to rock. Okay, you don't need to sit here and watch me do every single question type. So with a little magic, oh my God, look at this. The game's done. Look at all these questions that we got going on here, right? So let me show you one that I built as well that is an image matching question. And we'll actually play this one in a second. So this is just like our other ones where you simply upload images, which are PNGs or JPEGs, you upload them and pick the correct answer. There could be more than one correct answer. Awesome. So without further ado, let me launch this, and then we can go back and forth, and you can kind of see what this looks like live, and then on the back end at the same time. And also note that the Training Arcade is not an app, it's not a plugin, it's not anything that needs to be installed. All you need is web connectivity, and you and your users can use this game, or all of our games rather. All right, so if I go to game info, my pop-up screen, look at that. Know the trivia, there it is, beautiful. Registration, if I go back here, there it is, first, last, email, and company I'm asking for. Awesome, click submit, and then we are ready to rock and roll. All right, New Orleans was founded in 1718 as part of what colonial empire? Here's the clue I wrote. Here's that image. We go real quick. Image, there's the clue. Here's all my answers. This is my time ticking away. Look at it go. I'm going to select the correct answer. Great. So I got it right. Here comes my correct feedback. That is right here. And remember, it could be for any of them, or you could have different feedback for any questions. Oops, excuse me. And now I can sit here and look at this feedback as long as I want before moving on to the next question. Great. Here's our text input. I know the answer. Awesome. So I typed in, what is the Louisiana Purchase? But if I go to my text input here, you'll see the exact answer was the Louisiana Purchase, but my answer contained just those two words, so I got it right. Look at that. You can pretty much capture anything with those two uses. We continue. Here's another one. That's good old Andrew Jackson. Now I think we're getting to the image question next. Yes. So which image below is one of the famous Bourbon Street in the French Quarter? So look here, instead of a multiple choice with text, it's simply a multiple choice with images. This is fun. Also, I know that's Chicago, that's Vegas, that's Times Square. I'm going to click submit. Look at that. That is Bourbon Street in NOLA. There you go. And it's as simple as that, right? So this game is 25 questions long. You'll notice that I'm on a 4 streak. Now it's up to 5, and you get all these fun little motions. You get the check mark showing up. You just get this nice, fun little rush of dopamine of like, wow, I got that right. This is so much fun. I want to keep going. Same here with Café du Monde. I'm going to pick these two. And now I'm going to show you a live interstitial. So in Trivia and Jeopardy, you have the opportunity to interject these interstitials. It is just another opportunity to engage your learners, pass on some fun facts. Like I said, hey, I'm here to whet your appetite. Here's some Olay and beignets. You know what I mean? But this is just another opportunity for you as a trainer to engage your audience in whatever way you see fit. It is as simple as that. You can, as you see, build one of these games in minutes and deploy them to your learners. You can use it through a URL, which I will share in the chat right now. There you are. So if any of you want to just click on that link, you can play this game, test your NOLA knowledge. You can also SCORM wrap any of our games. You can embed them into an LMS, a website. There are a million and one ways to share these games out quickly and easily to your learners. And again, without having to install anything at all. All you need is a web device and you are ready to rock. There we go. I am ready for questions if there are any. But yeah, trivia is definitely one of our more straightforward, easier to use and deploy kind of games because, again, so many people know what trivia is. It just makes it really accessible. I'm going to stop sharing. Thanks. And I'm here to answer any questions.
All right, Jake. So one question that we always get is, how many learners can you have? Or is there a limit to the number of learners that can take each game? And how many games can you build?
It's a great question. So you have an unlimited amount of games you can build in the Training Arcade. If I want to build 10,000 trivia games, I can do that. For learners, you can have as many people as you want play single player games. Like we've had upwards of tens of thousands of people playing a game in a single day. For an instructor-led mode where I'm guiding you through a game, we highly recommend that you have no more than 200 folks on that game. And that's only because it just becomes manageable at that point. It gives you still enough space to kind of interact with your audience, look at those answers. Any more than that, it just comes be kind of a unmanageable rather. It's just too many darn people on the thing, right? But for single player, you can have as many as you want.
All right, and let's see. Which of our games have the virtual instructor-led mode?
So right now that is just Jeopardy and Trivia. We are working on Wheel of Fortune, one of our other games being instructor-led mode. It's just not there yet. And we are always thinking of new games to add to the training arcade, looking into more instructor-led stuff. But at this moment, Trivia and Jeopardy are the two to go for.
All right, and if you want an example of how the instructor-led mode works, Jake mentioned he does the Friday Jeopardy games. Those are a great option to kind of see how it flows and to just spend more time with Jake, which I know everybody wants to do.
Also, yes. Here, let me get that link for you guys. And I saw a question I think Joe just posted.
We have a question about if you've already exported the SCORM and put it into your LMS, what happens if you need to make changes to that game?
Great question. So any changes that you make in the training arcade, so if you noticed I kept saving up in the top right corner, those are automatically deployed to your game wherever it exists. I have made changes to games while people are playing them. It is rather seamless and simple. So if you make a game, you SCORM wrap it, put in a URL, and put it a million different places all throughout your learning environment, as long as you update that game in the training arcade, those updates will go live to wherever that game lives.
Awesome. One and done.
Yeah.
We have another question. Can the games be translated into different languages?
They can, yes. So that is a different function. And actually, the easiest thing to do, who was asking that question? That's a good one, because I can send you directly some videos and how-tos on how to do that, because that is a good
why don't I put this in the follow-up email for everybody?
Perfect. That would be great. So there is a template and video guide we have where if you are uploading your questions and say English, right? So you need to translate them into the language that you want them in. Google Translate works well enough in a lot of instances, but clearly if you are a native speaker of that language, I'd defer to you over Google Translate, right? We all know how that goes. But then once you have the translations, you just simply add them to a second column in an Excel sheet, and then you can re-upload that to the training arcade, and then your users can pick which game language they want to play it in. Don't have time to go through it on this right now, but we can definitely send it through to everybody else. Absolutely.
Yes, we will share those resources in the email with the recording of this. Now, speaking of other customizations, can you change any of the graphics or the background image in Trivia?
Yes, so there are some skins available. It's mostly different color schemes. If you want to have a truly custom skin or theme created for any of your games, we can do that for a small cost. That takes dev time. But we have we can do anything you want for these skins as long as you chat and talk with us. There are a few pre-built ones, though, in the trivia game.
Awesome. And then I know you mentioned putting this into your LMS, but can you also put the games into an e-learning course that you're building, like using an authoring tool?
Yes, you absolutely can. We integrate with most authoring tools. The ELB suite of products we can integrate with very easily, and SCORM wrapping, embedding, just plugging in a URL. It's as simple as that.
The sky's the limit. Wherever you want the games, you can put them.
Exactly.
All right, let's see. We'll give it a minute in case anyone has any additional questions, but I think so far it looks like we've answered all of the questions we've got.
Great.
As I said earlier, we recorded this, so you'll be getting a link to the recording via email, and we'll also put in there those translation resources and a link to the Training Arcade free trial. So if you're not already a Training Arcade user, you can sign up for the free trial, and then you can build all of the games, see how easy it is. And next month, Jake, do you remember what game we're building next month?
I think we're doing scenarios next month.
Scenarios.
Yeah.
All right, that's an exciting one. So you can join us next month for our next game building webinar. All right, that's all the questions. Jake, thank you so much for your time. And
Yeah, of course.
thank you to everyone who joined us today to learn how to build trivia. Hopefully
Thank you, everyone.
a good time.
Much appreciated. Have a lovely day.
Bye, everyone.